To do a video that's a little bit different today. I honestly don't even know if I'm going to be finishing it in one sitting. I don't know. So yeah, I'm also getting ready to move right now, which if you notice that pile of books that used to be right here, that's gone to the new apartment. I still have all those books though on that shelf in there. I'm a little scared to go get them because there's a lot of daddy long legs in this area, and I'm just kind of hoping none of them made their home behind those books. I pulled out a textbook last year for work on one of my papers that I was doing on environmental ethics from the Christian perspective because I go to theology school. And there was like this spider web hanging off it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to touch these anymore. Pretty pathetic. But anyway, I am getting ready to move, and I'm starting to take all my books, and my brother's getting a moving truck here on the 19th. Today is July 14th, and yeah, I'll be moving. Technically, my lease isn't over until August 31st. Oh, I'm a little annoyed at that. I don't know if I'm going to get into that story, but basically I got a doctor's note saying that I can't afford to live here anymore, and the doctor is, like, getting me to... well, supposed to get me out of the lease because it's for a medical reason that I can't afford to live here anymore. But they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And I'm like, well, I'm leaving anyway. So if you have to take me to court, you might have to take me to court for the 2 weeks that you're not going to have money from me for, because they're going to have my security deposit. And I already told them there were certain things I was not covering out of the security deposit, like the carpet, even though the cats picked at it a little bit. I'm not going to sign over any of my security deposit for the carpet because there was a flood in here for 6 months that they wouldn't fix, and it wasn't my flood, it was theirs, and they wouldn't fix it, and the carpet's going to have to be replaced anyway because it's probably all mold underneath. Anyway, there's just this big kerfuffle. It's kind of making me mad because it's not like I've been here for 8 months and I'm trying to get out. I've been here for 3 years. I'd be here for another one if I could afford it, but where I've been off on sick leave. Yeah. Anyway, what's this video about? It's not about moving or about my stupid landlords. It's about me trying to get back on track with the healthy eating, but actually I'm focusing on binge eating today. It's still a big part of my life, and you can probably tell I haven't lost a lot of weight since my big update. I've lost like 5 pounds, gained back 5 pounds, lost 5 pounds, gained back 5 pounds. I've just kind of been passing on that same 5 pounds since my last official update. So yeah, I've been really stressed out lately, and I just kind of wanted to talk about binge eating. So like I said, I don't know how long this video is going to be. You may even see a clothes change at some point if I don't finish it all in one sitting. I don't know. So you can either watch the whole thing or not. If you do watch the whole thing, I really appreciate it, and thank you for taking the time to do that. This is really hard for me to talk about, and it's really hard for me to just kind of work through. It's a huge struggle that I've had for a very, very long time, and I know I've talked a little bit about it before, like my weight issues I've had almost my entire life. Apparently I was a pretty small kid. I don't ever actually remember being thin. I know I was at some point, but all I can remember is fat, fat, fat. That's it. So yeah, I mean, like, I was a small kid at first. I was thin because there are pictures to prove it. And when I was 8, I started gaining weight, and, like, I don't remember a whole lot. Like, I have memories from before I was 8, but not really, like, what I looked like. Like, I have memories of things that I've done, and, you know, it's not something you really focus on your weight when you're 5, right? So, but I know I started gaining weight when I was 8. And again, I probably wouldn't even have noticed, but at the time, like, because it's not something you really think about when you're that age. But then you notice because kids start making fun of you, right? I mean, so you've got no choice but to notice. So, I put weight on when I was 8. That probably wasn't a big deal at that point. But then when I was 9, it started becoming more noticeable. Then I know I lost a bit of weight when I was in grade 5. So when I was 10, 11, I'm pretty sure I must have went on some sort of diet at the time to lose the weight, because I was like really chubby in my grade 4 picture, and small in my grade 5 picture, and then chubby again in my grade 6 picture. And I remember wanting to lose the weight, and I must have done something at the time. Again, I was only 10 or 11. I don't really remember. And then grade 6, I was big. Grade 7, I was bigger. Grade 8, I was big. Then grade 9, I was really that was the turning point, which I talked about before. And then I lost weight during grade 9, and then started gaining it back about halfway through grade 10. Unfortunately, when I went vegetarian. I don't blame going vegetarian. I blame my lack of understanding of going vegetarian, and then binge eating. I mean, I would say I've been a binge eater most of my life, but it became really, really prevalent grade 11, 12 especially, and onwards. Grade 12 got really bad. What happened in grade 12 was, I was in grade 12 a couple years after the Columbine massacre. So the trenchcoat mafia was still quite fresh in everybody's mind. And even though I'm in Canada, the news spread here pretty easily. And basically there was this group at my school that all started wearing trench coats. So they were like we called them the local trenchcoat mafia. And at the time, I mean, we were all kids, right? I mean, we weren't trying to belittle what happened in Columbine, but they just reminded us of the trenchcoat mafia, because they were all kind of weird, isolated except for amongst each other, and they were scary in a way, creepy. And then they just all started wearing these trench coats everywhere. And my best friend in grade 11 and part of grade 12 had an identical twin sister who, I mean, they're close now, but at the time, they were worst enemies. And the twin sister actually became part of this trenchcoat mafia. And I ended up being their target. I defended my friend a couple times from her twin sister. Not violently, but just defensively. I would step in front of her, or I don't know, I've always had kind of a big mouth. I probably said something too at some point. I got them angry at me, and then at one point my best friend turned on me, and then this entire trenchcoat mafia just, boom, they hated me. I had this target on my back. They literally tried to kill me. There was next to my high school, there was this arena, I guess. I don't know, you can go in, there's a hockey rink, a swimming pool, and then a little cafeteria upstairs where we always used to go to lunch. There's a public library in there. There's all kinds of stuff in there. And I used to go there for lunch, and one day I tried to leave, and the whole building was surrounded by these trenchcoat people. And I called my dad. My dad had to leave work to come and get me out of this building so I could leave in one piece. And, I mean, I told the principal, and the principal said, I don't have time to deal with this. You're either going to have to live with it, or you're going to have to leave school. So I left school. I dropped out of school. I ended up going to another high school in the area, sort of. But, going in grade 12, you're already weird. You're already, depressed. And you go in the middle of a semester in grade 12 in your senior year. And people don't really like you, or, it's not like they outright didn't like me, but they weren't open to having me in their group. And I was never really social. I never really understood how to talk to people or to make friends so openly. I was never that kind of person. So basically, I was just kind of ignored. And I put up with it for a couple weeks, and then I just stopped going to that school too. And by the time this trench coat mafia ringleader left my high school, the guidance counselor called and said, you know, you can come back now, which I shouldn't have had to leave to begin with. But anyway, I went back for the last semester, which started in February, I think, the beginning of February. And I was just so depressed at that point that I ended up leaving school again just a few weeks later. So basically, I dropped out of school about 2 months before I was due to graduate. Now, I did go back and get my high school diploma a few years later. I got it in 2006 when I should have had it in 2002. But anyway, what this all leads to is that incident all through my grade 12 year was a major trigger for me. I mean, I did binge a bit prior to that. I had weight issues all the way prior to that. But once I dropped out of school, I became pretty much a hermit, a recluse. I would not leave the house. My parents would encourage me to get a job, to get out. And I would say I had about 60 jobs in my entire life, and I've only been in the workforce since I was 17, I think, just before I turned 17, I think, something like that. Anyway, so that's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of people that hired me, and I quit. You know, I've had some jobs for a while, some a couple months, some a day, and then I just refused to go back. It's really hard to keep a job when you're miserable. And so during this depression, I ended up really, really, really binging, like more than I ever have before. And I know I've done it before. I mean, I've always kind of had that binge eating sort of habit, but it just really, really took hold when in that grade 12 time. And ever since then, it's been such a really potent part of my life, and it's hard to get rid of, and it's hard to overcome. And I think I spent most of the time just kind of wishing it away, thinking, you know, praying it away at one point. I'm not so much religious anymore. I do go to a divinity college, seminary school, but I'm not really religious anymore. I'm kind of agnostic. I like to think that there is a God out there. I don't believe in a God of hate, as a lot of Christians preach today. But I do believe there's something out there, but I don't know. So I'm more agnostic than anything else, I'd say. And, but I mean, I definitely wasn't always agnostic. I used to really, really, really believe in God. I used to even consider myself a fundamentalist at one point. Something I might get into for another video about why I got to that extreme. But anyway, the point is I tried to pray it away. I tried to wish it away. I tried to, you know, I'll just wake up and it'll be gone. It's never gonna go away like that. It's always going to be a part of me. It's like, and I've said this before, and I wholeheartedly believe it, I feel like a drug addict. I feel like an alcoholic. And it's not, I mean, people will say, oh, if you just eat more so you feel satisfied, then you won't binge. No, that's not true. Maybe that's why you binge. But I binge when I'm hungry and when I'm not. And I binge, I mean, I binge constantly. I've eaten, at one point, 2 12-inch pizzas in one sitting. I, at one point, ate so much. Now, I would say this was probably in my mid-20s. Early to mid-20s, and I'm 31 now, and this probably happened like 22, 23, I don't remember exactly when. I ate so much in one night that I'm pretty sure my stomach tore, because I got this really sharp pain as if something was ripped, and it didn't go away for about a year or two. That's really embarrassing to say, but I mean, that's the extent of my disorder. I didn't binge because I was hungry. I binged because I was addicted. I was obsessed. I have this disorder that, you know, I've never been hungry. I have had times where I've gone to restrictive eating in a way to combat this, because I do things in extremes. So, if I'm not binging, I can't eat at all. So I would go to this extreme of restrictive eating, where at one point it would be like, you can have 100 calories a day, you can have 200 calories a day. I did the 2-4-6-8 diet, which is 200 calories one day, 400 the next day, 600 the next day, and 800 the last day, and then boom, back to 200. I've done that. But those don't last very long, and I did have bulimia at one point, but that never actually translated into like a disorder that I was diagnosed with. And it was just something that I was using to fight the binge eating. Now that I'm eating vegan, I'm trying to, I'll just be high carb, low fat, and everything will be a-okay, right? No, it's not. It's not a-okay. I still have binge eating disorder. And I'm not binging on animal products, although I have at one point craved pizza, like cheese, so bad that I was like, oh my gosh, I want to binge on this pizza. And this wasn't even that long ago. This was just a couple weeks ago, but I didn't, because I don't think cows should have to suffer from my binge eating disorder. But it's like I'm still getting all these cravings, and a vegan cheese pizza was not cutting it at the time. So I ended up binging on something else, but it wasn't good. So that's why I'm gaining and losing the 5 pounds. I've lost, at one point when I was 21, I lost almost 100 pounds, and I actually did it well. And then I gained it all back because I went back to binge eating. And I guess, I don't know, I'm getting 20 minutes in. I don't even know if I'm making any sense. I really just kind of wanted to get all this off my chest because it's bothering me so much. I've grown up, and I've said this before too, I've grown up with a drug addict. My brother was a drug addict from the time he was 12 years old. When he was 12, I was 7. And, yeah, as we got older, he got worse. We weren't on speaking terms from September 2003 until he was on his deathbed in October of 2014. We weren't on speaking terms. I would leave whenever he'd come over. I would refuse to see him. Even one Christmas morning, I left the house for a couple hours while he came, and then when he left, I came back. Yeah, I had nothing to do with him, and then he was on his deathbed, and, I always thought I hated my brother until he was on his deathbed, and then I realized I might not have liked him, but I definitely loved him. And I'm not going to go too much into his story, because that's not my story to tell, but a couple things happened at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, and after, I was 7 when it started, I'm 31 now, and he's finally sober. It's taken a long time. And I know he fights it every single day. He will be a drug addict until the day he dies. He might be a recovered drug addict or a recovering drug addict. He might be a sober drug addict, but he's still going to be a drug addict. It's never going to stop. He has to work at it every single day. And here I am, and I see binge eating disorder like drug addict, like the same thing, like a drug addiction. And I'm trying to pray mine away, wish mine away, do everything I can to just not have to work at it. And I look at him, and I know he works at it. And every day he works at it, from the moment he wakes up till the moment he goes to sleep. Some days are likely easier than others. I'm not in his head. I don't know, but I can assume. But that's the key, is that in order for me to come over this binge eating disorder, it's going to take work. It's not going to disappear just because I want it to disappear. It's going to be in me forever. It's always going to be a struggle. And I like to think that, this is the lowest of the low. This is as bad as it can get, and even though it'll be a struggle forever, maybe in a few weeks, a few months, as the years go by, it won't be a struggle that I'm like actively pushing away all the time, every second of my life. But it's always going to be there. I'm always going to be a binge eater, even if I'm not binge eating. So, on that note, that's why I haven't been losing any weight. I've still been eating. When I'm eating well, I'm eating well. I'm eating good things. I'm still eating like starch solution. But when I binge, I don't eat well, obviously. I'm not binging on apples, right? Very few people binge on apples. I'm not even binging on potatoes, although sometimes I do. Sometimes those potatoes are in the form of chips, though. There's a lot of stuff I binge on. And I would say 99% of it is junk food. And then I'll get back onto the starch solution for a few days, and then I'll like kind of balance it out. But I'm not losing anymore. It is going to be hard for me to lose to begin with, because I do have the hormonal conditions that cause me to gain weight and to retain weight. Obviously, it's not the binge eating is making me gain the weight, but I can gain it a lot easier than most people. There are people that struggle with binge eating disorder that will gain the same amount of weight, only it'll take them twice as long to gain it. So I need to start proactively taking steps to fight this. And I guess I really don't know what I'm going to do that. Like, I'm thinking some of the steps that I'm going to do is I'm going to start keeping a journal, a binge journal. And the binge journal is going to be anytime I want to binge or anytime I do binge, I'm going to write in it why, like what I was thinking, because I don't really consider my emotions that much. I don't even know how to recognize them a lot of time. I have trouble recognizing my emotions, and then so I ignore them anyway. And I mean, I know what I'm feeling when it's extreme. So I know rage, and I know, ecstasy, like complete joy, which I've had maybe once or twice in my life. But just like the normal everyday emotions, I have a lot of trouble identifying those. And so I think the journaling might help with that and might help me see a pattern into why I'm binging. I'm also going to do I said this, I think, in my first video or maybe my second. It was in the very beginning that when I was trying to give up fast food, I would do like this smiley face on the calendar kind of thing every day. So I decided I'm going to do something like that, only it's going to be more rewarding than a smiley face, which it's not rewarding. I've got this piggy bank. I actually painted this myself. Isn't it cute? So I have this piggy bank, and every day that goes by, that's actually a nickel that the people at the Clay Cafe put in there for me, so he would be lucky. And that can just stay in there. But every day that I don't have a binge, like every day that I make it through, right before I go to bed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a loonie, which for people who don't live in Canada, that's a $1 gold coin, Pirate's Gold. I'm going to put a loonie in here every day that I don't binge. If I binge, I don't get to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save up that money in that little piggy, and he's going to be my reward. By the time, the longer it takes me to fill up the piggy, the longer it's going to take me to get my reward. My reward's actually going to be a trip. So I'm going to use the money in that little piggy to get me either to Thailand or to Costa Rica or somewhere exciting. And it's just going to give me something to work towards, something to look forward to. I can't afford more than $1 a day right now because I'm broke. But I figured $1 a day, that worked out to be $31 a month, except in February. And I thought it would, that's doable, and I thought that would just be something to work towards. So yeah, I need a bit more of a game. I'm kind of lost. I have said to a few people that I was gonna like get a game plan and then post this video. It's taken me a while to think of a game plan. I don't really know. Like, but I think this is a good place to start. Recognizing that it's going to take work, that I'm going to have to work at this. It's not something that's going to go like, I can't bury my head in the sand and hope it goes away. Trying to recognize my triggers so that I can prevent relapses and reward. The piggy's going to be my reward. And I think that might be helpful. It's mostly avoiding the triggers that's going to be a big thing. So, that was another thing that I was going to do is like, I'm moving on Sunday. It's Tuesday right now, and I was thinking where I'm going, it's nice and flat. I mean, it's hard to get out and walk around here because it's beautiful, but when you're in as bad a shape as I am and you live on the side of a hill, it is difficult to get out and walk around. It's really, really difficult. And where I'm moving, it's all flat. I'm completely in the valley. I'm not on a side hill or anything. So it'll be good just to be able to get out and exercise. I'll probably be able to do hills a little bit more once I lose some weight. And I'm thinking like I'll use the journal to identify my triggers. But if I'm getting to the point where I can't... I just lost my train of thought. If I get to the point where I'm thinking I'm going to binge anyway, I'm just going to get out, leave my car keys behind, and get out and go for a walk. I don't live near a store. I'm like, when this new place is in the middle of nowhere. Just get out, go for a walk, and try to just walk it off. Give it 30 minutes, give it 20 minutes, give it 60 minutes, just see if I can walk it off. Another thing that I'm going to have to do is, and I mean drug addicts and alcoholics have to do this too, is I can't bring my drug into the house. So I'm going to identify my trigger foods, and I already know most of them. Like chips and stuff are big ones, but there's other ones too. I'm going to identify all of my trigger foods. And those trigger foods are forbidden from entering my house. They're not going to be allowed in my house. It doesn't matter if it's a visitor coming. So like my niece will come visit me sometimes. She's not allowed to bring them either. She's going to have to bring something else. None of the trigger foods are going to be allowed in my house. Because if I was an alcoholic and my niece was, say, 19 instead of 16, I wouldn't let her bring a beer into my house either. If I was an alcoholic. Yeah, I mean, these are all little tricks that I'm going to have to do to fight it. I'm still trying to do high carb, low fat, but I really just need to fight this binge eating disorder first before I worry about anything else, I think. As long as it's vegan, I don't really care anymore. I mean, yeah, I'm still going to focus on the starch solution as much as possible, but vegan's number one in my books. And fighting binge eating is number 2, kind of tied with number 1. Starch solution falls after that. And we'll go from there. Hopefully by the end of the summer I'll see some real progress and I'll stop having this perpetual rain cloud above my head that's just killing me. It's like... Anyway, if you made it to the end, I think this is my longest video yet. If you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. I don't even know if I made any sense through this entire thing, but I do really appreciate it. Yeah. All right. I'll see you guys later. Bye.